I feel fucking alive. Still podcast. Let's fucking have it. Ladies and gentlemen, it is Slow Horses season 3 finale next. Oh yes, nothing better than when, series finales just able to kind of end on a bang, isn't it? Nothing feels better, and especially when there's a lot of like action scenes and a lot of shooting involved. That's just kind of what we're here for. So yeah, guys, we're back again. I'm Jibbz, joined by the well-respected journalist, Mr. Chris Connor. How's it going, Chris?
Howdy. Yeah, I'm good. Great to be back.
Just look very excited to be talking about this.
It is. I mean, I think we're obviously going to get into it in a minute, but these final two episodes really blow the doors off, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you messaged me like the other day about like how season 5 was bloody insane. And I mean,
Yeah.
look, season 6,
And
like,
then
we're literally speechless for a couple of minutes, weren't you? So
5 and 6, just like an insane pairing of episodes.
yeah. I don't even think I mentioned it, but like obviously we'll be talking about Slow Horses season 5 and 6 today. So these are actually the last two episodes of season 3, and we'll just be delving into the show, delving into exactly what we liked about the finale, and obviously where it goes next from here. Because as you guys have watched, we are definitely getting to season 4 because we did have a trailer at the end. So yeah, it should be a fun episode, and yeah, hope you guys enjoy this, and yeah, let's get into it. But go do some house cleaning, go pay some bills. Before we do that, just wanted to remind you guys to please like, review, subscribe, rate everything, DM us about anything. If you want to DM us about the podcast, sure. If you want to DM us about something else, do you know what I mean? I'm not adverse to that. Yeah, always up for a DM. But yeah, we do have a lot of like things upcoming. We still have For All Mankind. I think we might be covering. Well, the Globes came out the other week, and we did cover that as well. And we're gonna have some Globes films coming up, so it should be fun. And obviously, it's Oscar season, which is it's kind of like the undertaking me. I'm literally just like working up now because this is like my time to watch all the films that everyone tells
It's my
me is
favourite time
good.
of year.
Exactly. And if you go on YouTube right now, you're seeing all the variety interviews, all the
Oh, yeah.
campaigning, everything, right? So it's
It's
truly
popping
an
off.
Oscar season. I did watch May December the other day.
Oh, yeah? What'd you think?
What the fuck?
Oh, you didn't like it?
No, I liked it. No, I definitely liked it. It was kind of
Okay.
like,
The subject, what it's about.
yeah, and just sort of realized there was like a real thing. So I'm like, oh, right. Because like,
Yeah,
I
I
feel like
think
once you watch a film, you end up like trying to do a bit more further research into it, and it's like, yeah.
yeah,
So
the story it's based on is pretty well. I think they took quite a lot of like liberty with it to bring in
yeah,
like Natalie Portman's character, but the
Hollywood magic,
bare
yeah, Hollywood
bones
magic.
of the thing between Julianne Moore and is it Charles Melton,
Yes,
that's pretty true to what really happened, I think.
yeah,
And then Tom
crazy.
Haynes kind of worked his magic with it. Yeah, I really like it. It's
Yeah,
one of my favorites of the year. But thinking about it, yeah, the subject matter is. I think some people didn't know what it was about. They just thought it was this thing with because the poster just has like Julianne Moore and Natalie
doesn't
Portman.
say the poster doesn't give anything away,
No,
but
Charles Melton's not been in much of the promo either, but he's like the one that everyone's coming out of it raving about. Like he's winning some
and the
awards
Oscar,
already.
innit?
He could challenge RDJ and Gosling for that Oscar.
Yeah, we'll see. But yeah, guys, we probably will be covering all these films
Oh, sorry.
moving forward because it's Oscar season. There's Oscars
Yes.
coming up soon. So yeah, guys, just don't forget to rate, review, subscribe. It's not like one of these like YouTube vlogs at the moment. Don't also forget to, if you've got any suggestions, comments, or anything you might feel might help your listening experience, don't forget to drop us a DM, drop us a mention. We're at Popcorn for Dinner. I'm at I am Jibbz, and it's just yeah, just reach out. We're always open for a conversation, discussion, arguments, anything. We're always up for anything. So yeah, guys, please. Obviously, we do appreciate every time you guys listen to us, and yeah, just want to thank you again. So yeah, let's delve into the episode.
Yes.
So, Mr. Chris, Mr. Journalist, what fucking pair of episodes we just watched, man? I mean, you're coming out fresh from it because you just watched the last episode about a couple of minutes ago. So, like, just give me initial thoughts. Just
I
let it
mean,
all out.
I've obviously read these books as well as I mentioned before, but
Mm-hmm.
And the book is quite action packed because we have all that stuff that takes place within the vault. I don't know, it has a name, doesn't it? But where all the files are stored,
Yeah,
essentially. But they basically have 2 episodes that are just all out action, essentially. And I kind
yeah.
of thought, oh well, all the action's going to be because 5 is very action packed. I was like, well, they're not going to keep this running into the next one, and then they do,
Hmm, hmm.
It's an episode and a half really of really intense action, and everyone's
Yeah,
getting involved. We've got obviously River and Louisa mainly with Sean, and then obviously there's that whole like what's it, house break in stuff with
Standish and
Bat Bam
Lamb
and
and
Standish,
Ho.
which was like a bit Skyfall
Hmm.
or
Yeah,
Home
that's
Alone,
what I was.
with
So
the
that just reminds
traps
me of
and
something. Yeah,
I guess Skyfall more because there's guns and things.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But it's just clever, and it never got boring, even though there's
Hmm.
constant action because it's cut in between the various
Yeah.
storylines. So we've got 4
Hmm.
or 5, and then kind of in between all the action we have um, Taverner and Tierney,
Hmm.
and those two, that's really cleverly done. The way it kind of has them at the center, and then everything else is
Hmm.
kind of happening around them. So you're never
Absolutely.
sure who's going to come out on top. It's just really cleverly written. They make
Yeah,
some
like
nice.
just to kind of echo what you're saying, it's 3 battles,
Yeah,
3 kind of fights. So you've got the big. It was like a. It's funny because when I watched the scene at the vault area, right, it definitely reminded me of Gangs of London. A bit less cinematic in that sense. And then you see the Sean Donovan character, who's actually the main character, Shopper Dirce in Gangs of London. It's like, oh, see that dynamic there. It's sort of reminded me of COD as well, playing Call of Duty
yeah,
sometimes.
and maybe
And
John Wick as well a little bit.
yeah, a bit of John Wick as well. But I really like the kind of like action scenes there. Then you obviously have like it's like watching a sports game. So Tavernier and Tavernier and Dame Ingrid, in the sense that like who's going to come out on top. We're both watching it. It's kind of like both people of both opposing like football teams watching it a game to see who's going to like come out on top, who's going to score. So there was that dynamic, and they were kind of watching it through the telephones, and I think there was my live stream as well.
Hmm.
So that was quite, and there was like I always say it in the Popcorn for No podcast. I've said it like a million times now about how the best thing about movie TVs is putting good actors, actresses in a room and letting them act, right? Obviously, we appreciate action sequences, we appreciate good CGI, appreciate good practical effects. I mean, I watched a couple of Mad Max Fury Road clips the other day and I was like, what the fuck? But I feel like, I guess the essence of cinema is 2 people or multiple people in the room talking, and that's it. And what's dialogue like? How's the body language? How's the power dynamics? Shifting or not shifting? And I just felt like we got that between these 2 women, as you have to mention, because they did kind of bring it up in their conversation about how 2 women, first and second desk, head of my 5, who would have fought. And I mean, how did you feel about that conversation? Just that entirety.
Well, again, I think we might have mentioned this in the last ep, but Diana, up until episode 5, had kind of been kept on the fringes, and then
Yes,
she kind of
yes.
reveals that she's had involvement in everything.
Hmm.
And like when she called Cut right into her office in episode 2, it was to help him get into the to the basement, and just things like that. So she's kind of been subtly pulling the strings, uh, you know, giving Donovan the information he needs to find the file.
Hmm.
So it's like, she doesn't not know anything, and she's not. And then so Kristen Scott Thomas is basically saved for these last 2 episodes.
Yeah,
I was thinking, was she busy doing something else? Why hasn't she been in this series that much? Because she's had like a collection of scenes, but compared to her role in the first 2 seasons, been a lot
nothing
smaller.
close. No.
And then she's obviously probably got one of the most amount of screen time in these last 2 eps. She's everywhere. And her and Sophie, is it Sophia Conedo?
Yes.
They're very good, of each other. They're 2 of the UK's finest actresses, and they've both been in a
Legends,
hell of
man.
a lot of stuff. But they've got great chemistry, and it's great to see them kind of show their frustration at each other. So they've obviously
Hmm.
got like mutual respect, but also like you can tell Diana's really envious of the fact she's second desk and not first desk.
Yeah.
As she says
Just
to
extremely
landlady,
ambitious, aren't they?
it's like the first desk position that should have been mine or something.
Yeah. I always feel like, because just basically the start of that entire scene slash sequence where Ingrid brings the 2 glasses, she kind of holds them in that way. If you've seen me watching me on video. He holds the two glasses with the,
Yeah.
I think, was it whiskey that she's drinking
Yeah,
straight?
it was like an 18-year-old Macallan or something, Macallan,
Exactly.
which they say is really nice.
Whenever like that's about to happen, I just knew that like yeah, I just need to listen to about whatever like they're about to talk about because I know that a real conversation is about to go down. And
I
yeah,
mean,
just really liked that scene. I really liked the entire you know setting. They were kind of like setting up as well for the big showdown. And it's if they don't come out of the vault alive, then Ingrid has won. Dame Ingrid has won. And if you know that if they make it alive, then Tavernier has won, and Ingrid have to resign. And just the entire setup and how Ingrid is able to sort of suss it out eventually. Then she has that conversation and it's like, what are you talking about? And it's like, don't bullshit me. Then it's like, oh, eventually comes clean and just amazing, amazing. It's just two people in one room, just two of Britain's finest, just absolutely cooking, man. It's just great to see.
it's the
Absolutely great
way
to see.
it's kind of spliced into both episodes as well. Like it kind of
Mhm,
carries over, but obviously,
mhm.
like it probably wouldn't have taken long to film it. But the way it's kind of incorporated in amongst the action is really well done. And it never feels
Yeah.
boring. Like there's constantly like engagement, and you're like, oh shit, because she like tries phoning Duffy and she can't get through to him, and you kind of you're never sure who has the upper hand because obviously for a
Mhm,
lot of it we kind of think River and Louise are in the shit, they're trapped down there and
mhm.
doesn't look like there's a way out.
Hmm. Yeah. It's great, man. And I mean, kind of, I guess it kind of gives you like the backstory just into why that first scene in Istanbul happened in the first place.
Mhm.
So we come to see that Alison Dunn's character was aiming to expose the MI5 by leaking some secrets out to the press. And these secrets were these untested, correct me out here, untested items which basically cause a lot of collateral damage to people around them. So it mentions a lot of people injured. I think it was a North Korean ambassador as well who was injured as well, and just a massive shit show basically, right?
Hmm. Yeah,
And
it's like a weapons test or something.
yeah, and it was kind of like
That's crazy.
unauthorized, unlicensed, and all that, and it wasn't kind of supposed to go through, but it eventually did. So, and I mean, I think Tavernier definitely understands because I feel like they both understand that in this sort of as head of MI5, you definitely need to get your hands dirty in order to for the interest of the British people for the safety of the British people. But I feel like it's just an opportunistic sort of play by her, isn't it?
Yeah. Um, I
And it's
feel
like
like
she can't really sit back anymore, and this is a time to like pounce.
no, she's obviously like done dodgy stuff herself, but it's
Absolutely.
quite funny that she's then calling out Ingrid for being like, "You sanctioned this, or you killed someone over it." When it's like we've already seen in the previous series that MI5 killed Charles,
Yeah,
who was a traitor, and that they're not above doing uh, things that are
yeah.
unethical or.
Even in like the first season, when there
Oh,
was that.
she organised their guy's kidnapping.
Yeah, absolutely. And she tried to pin it on the slow horses when everything went to shit. When the mole guy who they put in like the kind of like far right people kind of got his head chopped off. I was gonna say blown off, but had his head chopped off and it was that. Yeah, tough way to go. But yeah, just quite a great scene, I'd say. I guess it kind of leads to the vault, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, like all the stuff there is just like insane because there's not much acting you can do really there. Like you're just running around and pinned in because you're behind bookcases and behind doors and all
Yeah.
that.
Hmm.
But it's never like boring. It's always like engaging. It's because I guess you don't see if it was just that and nothing else, I think it would get boring. But
Hmm.
because the Slough House crew is quite big. Obviously, like we're only actually spending probably a few minutes with them,
Yeah.
and so yeah, it's just really well done. You can see the show's budget in all these sequences. because I think it's definitely some of the best action we've seen in the show,
Hmm.
and just on TV in general. Like it doesn't feel like a TV budget, you know. It would be like it feels
No,
like a mid-budget movie, you know, in terms of the quality of action we're getting.
we are
And I
getting
guess
some really good action. Yeah,
they've
really good
saved,
sound mixing as well.
yeah, the sound for the you know gunshots and all the things falling over and stuff is very good.
Yeah,
Bangs,
and it's also trying to like, I guess, because with action is in a way you kind of need to advance the plot as well. You kind of need to tell a story, don't you?
hmm
And it's just that sort of thing with like the Douglas character, so kind of like the gatekeeper of the vaults. So there's this scene where when they eventually break into the vaults. Actually, even before that, it's when he's sort of kind of like in the massive control room with Cartwright, and they're looking outside. And like, oh, this is the dogs are out. Well, the dogs and Chieftain are outside because they've been assigned the task to basically eliminate them, right? But they're looking outside at the through the actual CCTVs, and it's like, yeah, they are. They're all for us. They're all for us. And River's a bit like, don't know, I don't know. I mean, normally they're for us, but like, why would they send this amount of people and send this like massive convoy in the first place? So is eventually kind of raises his eyes about that. Then what happens next? They shoot the CCTV, and it's like, that's a bit weird. That's not supposed to happen.
yeah,
Then I think when he tries to call Marcus and Shirley, they cut off the telephone, and then it's kind of like, yeah, we're fucked. We're literally on our own now, and we have to basically shoot our ways out of this. But yeah, man, had to pour one out for Dougie, who when he gets captured, he just can't keep his mouth shut, can he? And I mean, you can see how like innocent he is, and how just completely ignorant to everything he is, right? Because he's just like someone caught in the ceasefire, in the crossfire of everything, and when he gets captured, and eventually he's going to go, but it's like, oh, but this is for Ingrid, and it's like, oh. When I just watched that, and I was a bit like, oh, Douglas, man, why did you just keep your mouth shut? Come on, why did you just stop talking? But eventually he has to go, and yeah, that was pretty shit. Felt a bit sad about it because I mean he's just like quite an innocent character, isn't he? Even like when he was asking when River was trying to like secure the actual vault and he needed the password from him, right? But he couldn't figure out the password because he was just so scared and shit out because of like the entire situation. And he had to, and he like forgot about it. Then he remembered about
oh,
a
but they'd
couple of
already shot the panel.
so I was like, yeah. I mean, it was quite because you want them to get away, so it was a bit like, oh, come on, it's nice you're remembering now. But at the same time, it was a bit relatable, isn't it? Because it wasn't like forgotten their memories in a high pressure situation, high pressure moment.
Especially that high pressure. I mean,
When you
the
literally have people come to shoot at you, yeah.
interesting thing about this series is because unlike the last two, it's the first one we've not had like a main member of the Slow Horses die.
No.
Series one, you had Sid if she's dead, you know, Sid
Mm-hmm.
if she's dead, and then a couple others, and then obviously last series we had Min. But they kind of hint at a few this one because you're never sure who if anyone's safe. Like Louisa and Marcus, probably the ones that get closest to
Yeah.
popping it.
And
Uh,
I guess it kind of leads up to because I was expecting one of them to die,
mhm.
Marcus and Louisa, because like they've just been fired from the slow horses. So you're kind of thinking, oh, maybe this is like a way out of like, sending them out or something. But I guess it didn't happen at the end of the day.
No, I mean more in the books, like more of the crew do,
Mm,
but they obviously bring in new people, so that
yeah.
the it's kind of like a rotating door. There's like a desk that's like just a new person every book or two,
Mm,
but like you have the kind of core set we're following here who kind of stay in it, and then they kind of bring in new people who don't always make it. Um, but yeah, I mean it doesn't feel cheap that they didn't kill someone.
no, not
Like it doesn't
really.
hurt much. No,
I feel like, I mean, the slow horses did really, I mean, they definitely earned their survival, didn't they? Through the
yeah, well
action
they did their
scenes,
skill.
and yeah, it was just really, really good action, really, really good shooting. I felt like I kind of mentioned before, it was kind of like playing a video game sometimes when I was playing. I'm not really good at COD, but when you're playing COD sometimes, and it's just that sort of dynamic in that sense of the way it was shot. But it was still kind of, I mean, there were still some aspects of just moving the plot in the sense of them trying to. 'Cause actually, if we even go back to like episode 5, because they initially think they're still looking for the grey books in the first place,
Yeah.
because it was Alison's brother Ben, Sean Donovan, Louisa, and River Cartwright, right? So it's all four of them down in the vault right now, looking, because they just got on the tip from Standish, who, give them the directions to, what, to the files that we're looking for, right? Which we initially think is the grey books, but eventually we and Cartwright and Louisa, who are escorting them, then kind of figure out that, well, they're actually not here for the grey books, they're actually here for something else that related to the Addison Dunn's death in the first scene in Istanbul. So everything kind of just all built together, and it's, River trying to, figuring out that, they're not living here without literally getting through the dogs and Chieftain as well. Plus, I think, obviously, when Sean Donovan is shot, he literally gives the files to Cartwright. At the end, I guess we'll get to like Cartwright's conversation with his granddad a bit later on.
Hmm.
But it gives the files to Cartwright, and it gives him, you've got the responsibility now of, basically exposing the MI5 and for the corruption and everything like that for what it is. So just really liked how, because I mean, fight scenes are fine, but like if there's no points behind the fight scene, then like what's the point of the fight scene? If you get what I mean. I mean, sometimes you just want something to look cool, which is fine, which is fair. But obviously, at the end of the day, it has to be telling the story, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I think this does really well. And the sort of interplay between all the characters is great, and they've all got a good, chemistry. I mean, they have good actors, like
Yeah,
well-known actors in every part, which helps.
yeah. I mean, I was watching this film the other day. I watched Love Actually for the first time.
Oh yeah, well, first time. Wow.
For the first time, yeah, and just the amount of like actors and actresses there, and I was like, holy fuck, this is like a proper stacked cast. I was like, this must have come out like before a lot of these lot were like
I
huge
think they were all like well-known-ish, but like your
ish.
Keira Knightley and Chiwetel Ejiofor and stuff. I don't think
Hmm.
Andrew Lincoln hadn't done Walking Dead at that point.
No,
And a few others. So like obviously Hugh Grant and stuff were massive,
that
but a
was the
lot of
big
the
one,
rest of
yeah.
them were like on the way up. So they were kind of led by, I guess, like Liam Neeson, Alan Rickman, and Emma Thompson were all quite big.
Yeah,
And then people were like more up and coming.
yeah,
And now,
yeah. I think Grant was like the big one, wasn't he?
yeah,
I think Laura Linney was there as well. But I just really like when, I mean, their ensemble cast, Knives Out and everything, right? But when you have like just a TV show or a movie which just captures actors and actresses at the right time, or maybe not at the right time, just let's say like before they all kind of like get really big, right? And everyone is like literally playing their roles and doing it really well, rather than people just trying to steal scenes here and there. It's just really good to witness, I'd say. I think British TV shows do that a lot more in a sense, rather than American shows where you'd watch a show, right, and you like, I know, so you see like seven people or seven young actors who are like big before, not big, but like who were all in that kind of same TV show before they actually got really big in that sense. So I guess there's that. But yeah, back to Slow Horses and shootouts and all that. Yeah, it was just a really enjoyed that that scene in general, and it was kind of being shown alongside the Standish. Well, actually, before we get to the house, there was also Marcus and Shirley as well, because they were
Mhm.
part of the kind of like the vaults sequence scene, because eventually I think they're being fired, kind of like drinking the sorrows away. It's like, how am I going to put this to my wife? Am I going to get my gambling money? Just, all the priorities being asked straight away. And, eventually they get the phone call from River, and eventually end up at the vaults. And I think they kind of realize straight away that, you know, this isn't like, this isn't what they thought it was initially. So they eventually engage in the shootout as well. And it's a bit weird there because like Marcus, who you think is like this like gambling addict, right? He is like gambling addict, but like John Wick as well, because there's that
Yeah, he's got
scene,
this big boot full of guns.
the big big boot full of guns, and I kind of was just watching. I was just kind of, this is hilarious, man. And it's like, are you a fucking psychopath? And it's like, Yeah, he is. But it was funny again because like right after they showed the guns right out the boot, they switched to the front mirror, kind of like just a cut to the front mirror where it had like the baby on board sort of scene, and it's just that like contrast between like yeah, he's like a father as a kid. He's got kids and everything, right? But he's got like freaking machine on machines on everything at the boot because it always got to be ready, man. You know what happened, but like eventually they engage with the chieftain lot and the dogs as well, and I I guess you eventually see that Marcus is actually re-energized by this shooting. Like he has this like massive smile to his face. Shirley's asking if he's crazy, but he's like, "Yeah, let's bloody have it now. Let's all shoot out and everything." And it's just really like I don't know. I just found him extremely funny these last two episodes.
Yeah.
And he had like the big showdown with Duffy as well, didn't he?
Yeah,
In
that was
episode
very
six.
rewarding because obviously they got beefs together, which we've meant they have kind of been chatting about throughout the show.
Yeah,
And it was kind
because
of
they kind
paid
of
off
mentioned, yeah,
for
definitely
him.
mentioned about like how he had the opportunity to join the dogs, but eventually ended up with the slow horses, and you know he does that Oberyn Martell sort of thing about like tell me before I properly finish you, tell me. Then it was about to cost him.
Yeah,
Yeah, I hate when that happens in movies, man, where it's like, ugh, say something. I'm just like, just finish
yeah.
him. It's like, oh, go make a
And
cinematic
it's
of
also
this.
kind of out of character for Marcus, maybe a bit as well. But I guess he was like caught up in the moment of wanting
Yeah,
to.
yeah, yeah.
So I guess
And
I'll allow it.
he was riding a massive adrenaline high, man. He was kind of all in there. But I did like how because like they had to properly fist fight Marcus and Duffy, and yeah, because like both of like their guns, all the mags, the rounds had like both finished. They literally gave them like an excuse to actually, you know, the plot actually made sense on like because like sometimes in some films and TV shows, what happens is one person will have a gun loaded, the other person will not have a gun, but they're like, this is not a fair fight. I want to make it a fair fight so I can beat you fair and square. They'll throw the gun away and end up like kind of sort of dueling, and it's like, oh, maybe not. But yes, really, yeah, I really like that scene. But eventually, Weezer comes to save the day, and yeah, there are just a lot of like, I'm not sure if it's like unintentional comedy, but like just little funny things here and there in the sense of like,
Yeah, I think while I was watching episode 5 more than 6, I was
mm,
thinking this is like the perfect kind of summary of what the show's about because there is still a lot of humor.
yeah,
Like the stuff with you mentioned about when they shoot the panel and then Douglas
hmm,
remembers the code. But
yeah,
even like the quips, they're all constantly quipping and stuff. Um,
mhm,
like about Louisa or River using the gun.
yeah, yeah,
You're
yeah.
trying to save your life. Would you actually like care who gets to shoot? And
Honestly,
it's about like saving face and show that they can do the job and stuff. Yeah, it's just all of that. It's just
was there a
genuine.
like we're being shot at? Then someone said, "Well, shoot them back" or something. I'm thinking of
Yeah,
something else. So,
yeah.
it's
No,
like,
all
it's
that
like,
stuff's funny, and
damn.
then it just kind of makes it more enjoyable in a sense. Like I feel some shows or films would have just been really depressing.
Hmm.
Um, Having like it still be quite light-hearted,
Yeah,
even though there's a lot at stake, kind of just makes the show stand out. I think.
I mean, the pressing could work sometimes,
Mhm.
but I feel like I don't know. I did have a lot of fun watching this. There was one part in when Cartwright and Louise are like sort of climbing up the little ladder. So they climb up, they open like up the little um, sort of
Hatch, I
um,
guess. Yeah.
trapdoor door thing at the top, and they open it a little bit, and it's all like bullets being pelleted at them, and it's like, oh shit, down, 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 down. And try to go back down, and
No,
it's
back
like,
of
oh,
health.
let's go back up. Then one part I really found funny is like when they're going to go up again, right? So the people, the dogs were coming to them, right? About to literally come to the ladder. Then Cartwright shot at them because it was kind of all the way down, up, so he shot down at them. Then his round's finished. So the dog tried to engage again, but Cartwright threw his gun and he hit his hand and he broke his finger. And he's like, oh, man, he's
Oh
broken my
yeah, it's
finger.
the line. It's like, I think he broke my finger.
then his superior was like, well, I'm gonna go up, I'm gonna shoot him, I'm gonna break your other fucking finger. Then yeah, it broke. I guess he broke a lot more than his finger because he ran into a grenade, didn't he? So I don't know, just little scenes like that. Just I think
It's
the
all
one
yeah.
when he broke his finger, and I was like, this is really really funny. I do. Had to watch it a couple of times, rewind it back, but yeah, I feel like once that because that scene, as I mentioned, was being kind of played with two other scenes. We've spoken about the Ingrid v Taverner sort of Western, if you want to call it that, standoff kind of Western kind of chess match slash, spectating sort of dynamic. Then there was like the um, Standish sort of plotline with Lamb. I mean, I was going to mention that Lamb wasn't really featured a lot in episode 5. Episode 5 was a lot more of kind of like the MI5 bosses plus the vault as well, especially with like Marcus
Yeah, I mean,
and
Lamb's
Shell.
in episode 5, but they definitely
Yeah, he
give him
is.
a bigger role in 6.
Yeah, he's a lot more prominent in 6 because he's trying to when he captures or when he finds out where
Oh god,
Standish is, and she's playing
that's in 5.
Scrabble.
That's in 5, isn't it? Where he
Yeah, yeah.
opens the door on
Opens the door,
Alison's.
knocks her out, and he's like, "I was
Terror,
playing
that's
Scrabble." And it's like, "You're glad I came to rescue you." Then I'm like, Scrabble isn't that bad. Not that bad of a game. Guess we're playing the right people and right amounts of alcohol as well. But yeah, I mean, he kind of, as you mentioned early on about the Skyfall, Skyfall kind of setting booby traps and everything. How did you feel about that entire scene? Because
it
rather than
was
like,
it was a shift in like tone, so it was like kind of home invasion
mhm,
type, almost like a horror type stuff,
yeah, yeah,
and it was tense. It probably wasn't actually very long, maybe what 5 minutes, and they obviously cut between that and the vault stuff.
hmm,
But it's just really cleverly done with the booby traps and like things they could fall over and cut themselves on, and it shows Lamb in action because you don't really see him like as a Joe. You don't see him behind his desk. So here you see him kind of creeping around and using weapons and things like that.
walking
And
through
it's
the
just
roof
clever.
and
It
everything.
shows they've got like intuition and how like
Yeah,
they haven't really got any chance of winning, but they find a way to make it work using what's in the house. And it also shows how trying to be helpful but making things worse.
you
Bless
see why
him.
it's always in the office rather than like on the field.
Well, he managed to hack the bus,
True.
but didn't do much good.
Yeah, I
He got
mean,
sent down the house.
it, it was really funny though because like I feel like at the start when Lamb eventually rescues Standish and they're kind of like debriefing, then you see like the SUV come around and it's like, oh, there's a dog's going to be trouble, and it's Hobbs and the other guy who was actually kidnapped by 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 Sean Donovan and Ben as well. He's quite cocky about it, and it's like, oh, let's just go snatch Standish and go home, right? But Hobbs is a bit more like, yeah, Miss Jackson Lamb, you got to be careful. Then he kind of tries to go through the door. Then it's like a big booby trap. Then he's kind of being lit on fire, and I just found out. I don't know. I found that quite funny as well. Plus, there was Hobbs who slipped on the stairs, and I think he slashed his palm as well. Another booby trap that Lamb had set. So just really, really good. Like, I was good. I think it was like the cutting was quite good as well. Where it would cut from like what did he slip on to what did he kind of slash his palm on, then showing his reaction as well. Just all necessary cuts, needed to actually advance the story, which is good. And yeah, because Alison's sister eventually, I mean, we did mention how there was the sort of home invasion to horror sort of thing. I did like how it shifted from, well, straight from like good guys, because Standish was in the wardrobe as well, to like the bad guys as well, who are like the main sort of characters, or we're kind of seeing it from their point of view in that sense. But like normally in movie making, when it shifts to the antagonist and it's their point of view, you kind of know that something bad is about to happen to them, right? But I think for this, it was like their point of view, but then it shifted to Alison's sister, who was like hiding somewhere. So kind of like, oh, she might actually be in trouble here. She might die. And you know that her brother's about to die, so you kind of think that she's going to be like a martyr, the entire family. But I guess eventually she ends up with the, what did she do? She choked him out, I think.
She did, but she got shot.
Yeah, she got shot, yeah.
But like through a wall, and I think it hit just her shoulder, didn't it? Or it kind of grazed.
You're literally telling
Yeah,
me
I think it would have been a
it's
bit.
not that painful.
It would have been a bit rough killing off the whole of her family.
Too depressing.
So I guess because Ben and Alison had already died, so
Mm.
having her stick around. I mean, she doesn't come back in the books later on or anything, but obviously, if the show wants to bring her back, they can.
Yeah.
But like, there's such a large ensemble in this show anyway, and it keeps getting bigger that you don't want too many returning characters.
No, I mean, I feel
They
like,
offer a few
yeah,
regular
maybe they could like bring her back for like, oh, I
cameos.
know, well, it's like maybe they've got like a problem with like some opposing like villain or something, and it's like we need a piece of information. It's like I know where the one person I can get this from, and it's just like her in a little flat or something, giving them the file that they need or something, and it's like
The decision to kill off like Hobbs and Duffy is interesting because obviously they've both been in it since series one. So they're probably like two long-standing characters that you might have expected to make it out,
That's what I thought. Yeah,
and neither of them do.
yeah, that
So,
was
but they've obviously both had bigger roles in this season as well. Like they've been in basically every episode of this season.
yeah.
They've definitely given them a bigger role since than in the first two. So maybe they've kind of been setting them up to go out with a bigger role.
Makes sense. Yeah, I was expecting. I thought Hobbs would have gone, but I wasn't expecting Duffy to go. Because I thought Duffy would be like Cartwright and Lamb's sort of main antagonist, if that makes any sense. Where it's like he's always like their not antagonist, sorry, like their foil. So when trying to get things done, but like Duffy's always in the way about like it's you again, you little shit, kind of that sort of story. But I guess now I feel like what will happen now, they might introduce like a bigger, badder head of dogs or something, which I guess will be interesting to see the sort of character they bring in now. But yeah, there's I guess it ends with, so when you take out Hobbs and the other guy, right? So it's worth mentioning that it is it's Lamb that actually takes out Duffy, not Duffy, Hobbs, because he shoots him to the back of the head, and Marcus takes out Duffy.
Well, Marcus
after,
and
well,
Louisa.
Louise actually, Marcus is actually about to die, and Louise actually takes him out, eventually saves his ass. So, obviously they kind of recall the fact that Marcus saved Louisa in season 2.
Yeah, the whole Maori type thing, yeah.
I was going to ask you, like, the diamond hasn't come up again.
No, I don't think so. And again, I don't think it's not a thing in the later books. So I actually don't know if it's something they added in for the show.
Right. So I thought that might be like
it might be something they bring up, but like with all the dogs
yeah.
dead now and Taverner in charge, I don't think it will be a big deal for them.
Yeah, I mean, she's probably got like bigger things on her plate because like this massive story has leaked now, hasn't it? So like one diamond wouldn't be first on my mind. But yeah, I was going to say, because I feel like there might be like underlying diamond storyline, which might just be kind of flowing through the episodes and through all seasons and everything. Might come back. No,
It might be. It might do. They might mention it.
More Soviets, more KGB agents still hanging about, all of them lot. But obviously the scene ends with Ho driving a bus through the house.
Oh, so funny.
And it's like, the insurance won't cover this because the bus was driven by a fucking idiot. So that's...
He was like, it's all right, the insurance will cover it. And he's like, no, because it's a bus and it was done deliberately.
Delivered by a fucking idiot. And it's like, Lamb is just cooking, man, absolutely cooking. But it definitely needs to, like, the end. So there's like a scene at the end with Lamb and Standish.
Hmm.
That's something I just love when like British, older British actors just act. And I mean, there's the scene with, why did you? Well, she didn't really ask. I don't think Lamb asked directly about why did you help her out. Or I think he might have done. Why did he help out like Sean Donovan and them lot, right? And she's like, oh, if you heard their story, you would have known. MI5 don't act like this, and it's kind of like unlawful. We don't really do this. We're better than this. Then she brings up like the old head of MI5, Charles Partner, who we see was murdered at the end of season one by
Lamb
Jackson
and
Lamb
Cartwright, yeah.
and Cartwright's granddad,
Hmm.
because apparently he was selling secrets to the Soviets. And we don't know. Well, Standish doesn't know this until, well, she knows half of kind of what I just mentioned, because Lamb literally tells her like, "Oh, you think Charles was this upstanding guy? You think he was like, this model citizen, this model spy, but he was actually kind of more like me than you think. He was selling secrets to the Soviets." Literally discloses everything to Stan. Well, not everything, most of everything, because he doesn't really talk about how he died.
No, he doesn't say I killed him.
Doesn't say I killed him, but it tells her everything else. And
I think Hope puts two and two together
yeah,
because he
but
sees the picture and he's like, "Oh, messy."
yeah, oh man, just adding his 2 cents in
Isn't
into
it? Yeah.
everything, and yeah, just kind of laying out the truth. And I feel like I haven't read the books yet. You have, but she then quits. But I guess not to spoil, but we do see her in like the season 4
She
previews.
does
So,
quit in the books, but I can't remember if it's she quits here or in a later book. She like
right.
quits for a book or two, but she still like is mentioned and she's still a character in it, and then she comes
Mhm.
back. So they might do something similar where she's like left and then she comes back.
Yeah, or maybe like the kind of go to her and it's like, we need you
I
still.
think her reason for quitting in the book was because of the kidnapping,
Right.
not
Okay.
not because of like her and Lamb
Well,
falling out.
she's traumatized by it or something.
I think so, yeah.
Oh wow, that's crazy. Yeah, there was like that scene, and it definitely mirrored the scene with Cartwright and his granddad. And it's worth mentioning that he also has like another Alzheimer's moment where he talks about the agent in Istanbul. Then he actually says Morocco.
Oh
And
yeah,
Cartwright corrects him, and he's like, "No, I said." So, I guess that's something to watch out for. But
that is a big plot point in the next book.
right,
they
uh,
they they kind of hinted that in the trailer a little
yeah,
bit.
yeah,
Would bear that in mind, and I think that's why they've brought it forward because it's not a
yeah.
plot in this book, but it's quite sudden in book four.
Because
And it,
initially, like you're watching, or you watch the scene where he's at the club, and it's like, "Why is this scene here?" Then you've seen it again now, where he's forgotten the exact location about, whether they're talking about
yeah,
confused Morocco for Istanbul, and it's like, oh, and it's like, oh, right, you definitely know that's going to be like a bigger um, kind of story plot point going forward. But I mean, his ideological um, kind of explanation for secret services: you need to get your hand dirty. You need to literally do the dirt because you always need to protect kind of the British public, the British people, by all means necessary. Right? That's kind of like his mantra: by all means necessary. And Cartwright is a bit more upstanding about the entire thing, about how always have to act in a fair manner, and you always need to play by the rules. And that's kind of what we are as the Secret Service, as the MI5. How did you feel about those two conversations happening?
yeah. I mean, I think it's interesting how little his granddad's been in this series.
Hmm. Hmm.
A much bigger part in, especially series one, and he had fairly big. He's only really had like two or three scenes in the whole of season three.
Yeah,
I'm guessing that's because they're going to. Oh, he's been doing the Crown, I guess, isn't he? He's Prince Philip in the Crown. So I'm
I heard the
guessing
season's not that great.
filming of the Crown might have clashed with filming of this.
Right.
Um, but I think they'll give him a bigger role in series four. But yeah, I think it's interesting to show the generational split and
Hmm.
how like ideology evolves because River's kind of like quite selfless.
Yeah.
Um, and Cartwright, elder, you think it has been, but obviously he's got like kind of selfish streak to him. where he would maybe have killed his own if it meant saving face,
Hmm.
So that was interesting, kind of the defense or opposition to what was in the file.
Yeah. I mean, Cartwright's granddad eventually throws into the flame, doesn't he? David Cartwright eventually throws it to the flame, saying that, by all means necessary, that's kind of how we have to play, and that's how things have to be done eventually to basically get things done. I mean, the end justifies the means. And, you're assuming that there must be any copy, but I think we eventually follow Cartwright into his car and see that he's actually made a copy. But the other thing, I'm kind of like abiding to John Donovan about getting the entire file released, which they eventually do, and leads to Ingrid resigning, because we see that conversation with Lamb and Taverner, with his ice cream.
I know that was a great sequence with those two. They're annoyed that bench is gone, I think, aren't they?
Yeah, yeah.
The bench is gone, and then they go for an ice cream, which is great.
There's kind of because she stands him up, doesn't she? Early on the season, when Lamb wants to meet her at the park, but she doesn't show up, so he's a bit annoyed by that, and it's like, you stood me up.
Yeah, I mean, they haven't really had any scenes together this
No.
series because he's had a scene with Ingrid where she was trying to hire him to do some bits.
Yeah, he's been a lot
This is
more
like
involved with
the
Ingrid.
first scene where Jackson and Diana have had a sort of sequence together.
Yeah,
And those two are always fantastic together. They've acted together before, like she was his wife in Darkest Hour, I think.
Oh, really? I
Yeah.
didn't bother watching that. I'm
No,
just tired of the bloody Churchill.
yeah, but they were both in that, and they're both similar age, and they're both like been around forever. So
I
yeah.
saw her in Death at a Funeral.
Oh, is she in that?
Yes, she was. A lot of people. I think Matthew McFadden was in that. Peter Dinklage was in that.
Was in it as well, wasn't she?
Yeah, Dinklage was in that. He was like an Irish guy who had an affair with the guy who actually who died. One of the funny British dark comedy films.
I've never seen it.
Have you not?
She's in the first Mission Impossible as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she's in it. Like she gets killed quite near the start, but she's one of
Oh,
the main
no.
ones to start off with, and then so maybe that's why they cast her in this as well, as like a throwback to that.
Maybe.
But she just pops up and stuff, She's always
absolutely killing it. Yeah.
She's always in things.
Is she like more of a theatre? It was not like
Yeah,
all British actors. Something.
she's done quite a lot of like French acting as well.
Really? Can you speak French?
Yeah, she's fluent in French, and then I think she's done a decent amount of stage and TV as well. So
I
she's
swear.
done a lot of stuff.
Okay. She's always busy, man. Always busy. But yeah, that was I guess that's the episode, isn't it? That's this finale.
Yeah.
We predicted. I mean, we were messaging after episode 5, and we thought, it's gonna be a big bang, and there was a big bang, wasn't there? Yeah, it was a boom. Word to Oppenheimer, there was a boom.
I was going to say that, yeah. No, I mean, the fact that episode 5 was so strong and they were able to match that quality for episode 6, and maybe even one, I don't know which one's better, but as like a two-part thing, it's very good.
Yeah. Yeah, I felt like episode 5 was. I preferred episode 5 to 6, I think, in my opinion.
Yeah,
I think episode 5 was like my favorite.
They're both really good.
They're both really good. I don't know, I feel like there's nothing, but I don't know, I just really like when people are able to like figure out like a massive, massive conspiracy, like a massive plan against them. I really liked when Tearney, Dame Ingrid Tearney was able to figure that out, and she had the conversation with the whiskey and the glasses.
Yeah.
Just like, oh, you're trying to. I really just like all of that, man. People like able to figure out stuff. But yeah, man, that's Slow Horses season 3. Really good season. There's a lot more politics and kind of more of an internal affairs kind of season, wasn't it? Compared to obviously the first season was a lot more politics as well, but far right, BS. Second season was obviously like the Soviets and the KGBs, and now it's more the MI5 against the MI5 and conspiracies and internal affairs and grey books. You know, with the so our grey books, those were like the red herring, weren't they?
They were, yeah. We talked about obviously about this in the last episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were. I mean, going what you were just saying there, the tone of each series is quite different. So obviously, like the tone of the show as a whole is the same, but like I guess the antagonists or like the theme of each series is different. So you've got this kind of Islamophobia and far right element in series
Mm-hmm.
one,
Mm-hmm.
which they updated quite cleverly from the book. I think it was like Al Qaeda, and then they made it like
Right.
ISIS.
Was it written about ages
They,
ago? Or?
yeah, the book came out in 2010. So, but
Oh,
they obviously set the show in the present day. So like
right.
a lot of the things that might reference something, they kind of
They won't be
bring.
talking about Bin Laden. Well, Bin Laden anymore as a threat, though, would they?
So because Bin Laden died obviously just after that, and then it was
Mm.
ISIS or but yeah, then series two it's the Russians,
Mm-hmm.
sort of sleeper cell they've got, and then this season it was like the sort of rogue, well MI5 themselves are really the bad guys of this season, aren't they?
Yeah,
Like Jordan
exactly.
isn't really actually a bad guy.
Yeah, well,
Terms of,
Tierney is like supposed. Tierney is actually not a really good person. Like when you think about how all those people died because she just didn't want to give up power.
well, yeah. So it's guys from MI5 and the Tiger team.
And
So
Tiger
there's
Team
must be
Chieftain of
what
Dogs,
15,
yeah.
20 people died. I
I
think
think they said up to like 20, yeah.
they say
18,
it was
20, I think.
between 15 and 20.
Yeah, so, yeah, Tiger
Plus,
Team plus,
Spider's death is kind of on her as well.
yeah.
And other people who died throughout the course of the show, and
Crazy, man.
obviously Alison. So yeah, she's not a nice person.
No, but I guess
And
you just have to be that ruthless if you're in that.
there are some even more interesting plot developments later on. They go for some more directions.
Is Judd still about, or is he
He's not Home
resigned?
Secretary because she says like I'm going to meet the new Home Secretary, but
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think he like goes into like the public sector later on in the books, and he's still like involved in pulling the strings.
That's what I
So
was going to say. Like, are we going to
I,
see more of him?
he kind of disappears halfway through this series.
Yeah.
Kind of pops up in episodes maybe 2, 3, and 4, and
Yeah.
then goes missing. And I think they will. He'll still be around. And the guy playing him, is it not Dominic West? Samuel West.
Yeah.
The guy's name, yeah, he's good. So I'd be up for seeing more of him. He's
Dominic West
perfect,
is the wire,
like
isn't he? And
slimy, isn't he?
Yeah, Mr. Judd.
Yeah,
but
it's just really good, and the sort of little teaser we got for season 4 looks great, and we obviously got a massive new cast member, Hugo Weaving from Lord of the Rings and The Matrix, and
yeah,
Red
it
Skull.
was Hugo Weaving. Yeah, he's supposed to be an American, isn't he?
Yeah, but I mean, I thought he was from New Zealand for years, but apparently he's from the UK. So I'm guessing I thought he was from New Zealand purely because of Lord of the Rings.
Is he not New Zealand? I thought he's not from New Zealand.
No, he's British apparently, or maybe he was raised in. Samara is his niece. That's cool.
Oh, I knew he was born in Nigeria.
Yeah, he's born in Nigeria. He lived in the UK, and then they moved back to Australia. Okay, so he's British, but
Australian.
kind of spent a lot of time in Australia, which explains why he acts in a lot of Australian things.
Like the Bee
And
Gees.
probably explains why his accent's good as well. Because he's had a bit of moving around.
Both, yeah.
Yeah, the Bee Gees, they moved to spent a lot of their childhood in Australia.
Yeah,
they came back.
well, I think they were born here, but grew up in Australia. Queensland is our home.
Yeah, he's a big get.
Yeah.
You want me to say who he's playing? Or should we leave that for viewers to find out?
We'll leave that for the viewers to find out. But that trailer looked a bit wow.
Yeah, I'm trying to think that there's also another new character who's like a Met police officer who becomes like the new head of the dogs. Just a woman we see with
Oh,
Lamb.
the woman is that the head of the dogs? I thought she was like a new.
No, she becomes the new head of the dogs.
Oh wow.
But she kind of Emma something Flint, I think. Emma Flint,
Yeah, because
maybe.
I was like, where do you
Uh,
fit in? But it's
yeah,
like they're
yeah.
not really
She's
slow.
the new head of the dogs. Yeah.
They're not really slow horses. So I mean, I hope they make her like as even like worse than Duffy.
No, she's nicer.
Is she? Oh, no. Well, I mean, the adaptation might be different from the books again. You
Yeah,
never
yeah,
know.
might change it. They're not against changing stuff.
But I feel like the theme of next season, I think there might be a kind of like an Una bomber, like a bomber basically, right? Because they talk about a couple of bombs being set
Oh
off,
yeah, yeah.
and it's just why they're being set off. That's our job to sort of stop all this BS from happening. What's going on? So I guess there'll be that. And apparently they did mention, like spoiler, but I think in the trailer it mentions about someone dying. Someone's horse is dying. So Lamb was like, yeah, remember my team just died, and that was the last scene from the trailer. So
I think
really
that's an
interesting to look forward to.
interesting clip to include. I'm not going to say anything because I know what
Why
happened.
not?
I wouldn't get too attached to anyone for next series. It's all I can say.
Yeah, and you'd feel like you learn from like Game of Thrones, and it's like no, we've actually
I think Game
still.
of Thrones and before that you had Spooks here that
Mm,
showed you can kill off characters regularly.
it's good though.
It
Do you
ups
feel
the
like British shows?
it ups the stakes because so many shows like no one ever dies and you're like, oh well, there's no jeopardy. So even if you get into the most stupid situation, you're like, well, they're going to come out okay.
That's, I mean, that's why I have really deep, just like a content for Billions, that show.
Never watched it, but I know the one you mean. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like it's entertaining and everything, right? But it's like nothing really like happens. No one ever goes to jail. It's sort of I've already watched the new season, so I might be wrong there, but like it's kind of like I'm gonna stop you from doing. I'm gonna stop you from shorting this stuff, and it's like he stops him, but like nothing ever happens after that, and it's kind of like what?
No, I mean
No stakes or anything.
Succession had stakes because they obviously killed Logan Roy,
Yeah, yeah,
which I didn't see happening. And it's not like the only person who's died in the show either. You know, like other people have had things happen to them.
yeah, and it's not even like just like dying should be the ultimate stake, but like just I'm about
Um,
to lose out big.
Consequences to your actions.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
exactly,
like, knowing that you could go to jail for doing something wrong or whatever. And
absolutely.
Succession, there was always this thing about consequences for what you do.
Yeah, yeah.
That was why I like it so much. I think. But again, Slow Horses has that as well because Slow House is a punishment in a sense. But like there is genuinely risk involved in the work they do, so you know that something could happen. Like in the first or second episode, obviously Sid gets shot on the head,
Not
and
great.
that journalist got killed as well, didn't he?
Like that was annoying. Yeah, he got like thrown front of a bus, didn't he, by Duffy actually.
Yes.
End of the season to prevent anything from going on. But yeah, man, that was great. Really enjoyed that. Really enjoyed the season finale. Um, and yeah, let's thanks to obviously thanks a lot, guys, for being with us and listening to us review this great TV show for TV. Just keep on supplying us bangers. I watched what was that Idris Elba TV show?
Hijacked.
Hijack, yeah, and it's just a fun watch, honestly.
I've not
It's
seen that. Any good?
fun,
Yeah.
a bit kind of got a bit at the end, but yeah, just a fun one. I guess binged in and not an entire day because I think it was sort of like a weekly thing. And apparently, I don't know what's going on with Severance,
Oh,
so
Severance. Yeah.
I don't know. Might never get season two at this rate. I saw like Ben Stiller might be like producing some other thing or maybe acting in something else, and it's like,
Haven't they already
uh,
started filming season 2 though?
have they? I thought they took a little strike. It was like the writer's strike, wasn't there?
Let me have a look.
And yeah, I saw. Or I just read this report
No,
that
they started filming season 2 in 2022,
right. That's encouraging to hear, isn't it?
and it wrapped in May. So we should get season
What's
2.
wrapped?
Yeah, we should get season
Oh,
2 anytime.
nice. Happy days, man.
I haven't seen series 1 yet, so I need to get around to that.
Yeah, I mean the way I ended, I'm a bit, yeah, I'm quite intrigued to see how they go about it. All these like, I'm not like the biggest sci-fi person, but like all these sci-fi shows, right? After the first season, it's kind of like wow, like when you kind of kind of loses like it's shock factor, not shock factor, but like you sort of been thrown into this sort of world and you need to try and figure out what is this, what's the science, what's the technology behind all
You've
this,
got Silo
which is
as well. I need to get around
yeah,
to watching
and
that.
that was my because I felt like Westworld season one was like one of like the best things I've ever watched in my life, right? Especially like the way it ended. Anthony Hopkins was just absolutely cooking as
Yeah,
well.
I've
All the other
never,
characters, the
I
plot
never,
twist, everything made sense. But like everything
I'm
else,
into season
just
2.
season two was fine. Then it just kind of kept on going down, and from fine to meh to bad, then to really bad, and yeah, eventually got cancelled. So sci-fi shows, man, you need to kind of step your game up. 'Cause Westworld has really let me down. But yeah, man, that's it was really good having you, man. Thanks a lot for coming
That's
through.
all right. Thank you for
Do
having
you
me
want to
on.
plug your? Do you want to plug your
Plug my
website?
socials, yeah. Let's have a look. So on Twitter, I'm at ChrisConnor96. And then I think that's got links to my portfolio and everything on there. So that's kind of the
Yeah.
main place you can find me.
Hmm.
And then Instagram, if you want to get me on there, I'm basically the same at Crisco96 and then underscore.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've got a website portfolio and everything. I'm still in the process of kind of refining all that for next year. And then, yeah, kind of happy Christmas to all your listeners as well.
Yeah. Merry Christmas. I forgot. This will probably come out like maybe 2 or 3 days after Christmas or so. So
Oh, yeah.
hope
So come
everyone
around
is eating some turkey, drinking some Baileys. I'm about to get some Baileys now, actually.
having some mince pies and having a
Not a fan.
snooze.
I had mulled wine. I was like, oh, can't have enough of that. Actually, by the way,
Well, Mulbine's the stuff, isn't it?
it's the absolute stuff, man. The dog's bollocks, honestly. But tonight, I guess with Baileys, I got like one of these like ice. So like they produce like these big ball of ice. It's like this, like you just put water in there. And it's like this big ball. So you have it like in a little whiskey glass.
Oh, I
You
love
have
it.
like some Baileys or some. So yeah, just I feel like
Can't
Don
beat it.
Draper drinking from one of those. So gonna have some Baileys now. But yeah, guys, thanks a lot for tuning in. We'll be back with obviously like more episodes. I think we have like For Mankind, which is still going on,
Are you doing
and
Masters of the Air?
I think we are definitely. I'm definitely up to date about everything that's going on in the podcast, as you can tell. But like even like kind of like going through the new year, we do have a lot of obviously movies and yeah, just a lot of things coming up. And I think yeah, just
Exciting.
everything. Yeah, it should be fun, should be exciting. Thanks a lot, Chris, for coming through. Obviously, we'll probably be seeing you again next year for something interesting.
Yeah,
Maybe like a couple of movies I want to talk about.
be great.
That will be quite interesting. Yeah,
Yeah, we've got a lot of award season coming up, and I saw a lot of things back at London Film Festival, so I'm always happy to chat about those.
absolutely, absolutely. But yeah, guys, thanks a lot, and we'll see you next year. Have happy holidays.